Black Flag Resynced reminded me why I love Assassin's Creed, and in this video I'm going to explain why, but I'm also going to go through the things that I actually don't like about Resynced, and at the end what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my recommendations on who I think should definitely buy the game, who I think could buy the game if they really wanted to, and who shouldn't buy the game. So let's get right into the video. So first off, I just want to say that this game is just Assassin's Creed Black Flag. If you've already played it before, you'll notice that everything's exactly the same, and you know, it's just basically a remaster, but it is a remake. It's been remade from the ground up, and you can absolutely tell that. So I'm not going to be talking about like the story or anything like that, because there's going to be thousands of videos talking about the story if you've not played it already before. But what I'm going to talk about is what's different between this version and the old version, and the improvements that they've made, whether they are improvements or not. So first of all, just get it out of the way, the graphics. The game is absolutely stunning visually, and I think anybody can really say that no matter what version that you're playing, depending on if you're playing on PC and have to crank the graphics all the way down. I'm playing it on PS5 Pro and I'm on the fidelity setting, because to be honest, I would have expected 60 FPS no matter what mode you're in on a PS5 Pro, especially with the upscaling features that the PS5 Pro has. But I'm really not too bothered. I wanted it to look as good as it could, and it's not multiplayer, so I'm okay with 30 FPS. I know that's going to be controversial to say, but I actually am. I don't really care. A 60 would have been nice, you know, on the fidelity mode, but I'm just okay with it looking the best that it can. And it's not just the graphics, it's the different effects that you've got with like the wind, the different weather effects. The fact that when you walk past a bush, there's loads of different leaves and flowers that can fly past you. And I just think that they've absolutely nailed the look of this game. It is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. But to go along with the graphics, I think the feel of the game, it just feels incredible to me. I think it just feels like really fluid compared to the original version. Now, one of my main criticisms of Black Flag originally was that sometimes it felt a bit clunky. When you had to brace in the naval combat, it was a press of a button, you were stuck in the animation until the animation finished. That's no longer the case. I did also, at this start of my playthrough of Black Flag, actually change the controls to the original R2 sprint kind of controls. Don't do that in my opinion. It made combat a lot more difficult than using the bumper buttons, and to be honest, now that I've changed back to the original control scheme, I'm actually having a much better time with the game. It feels more fluid. It's obviously the way that the game was intended to be played with the controls, so I mean, I just had to change it back and I had a much better experience. Obviously, you can customize the controls to whatever you want to do, so do that. I'm not going to say don't do that. But in my experience, it just feels better keeping the controls the way that they are. And everything just does feel seamless. It feels a lot quicker. Even loading back into the game after, you know, you stop playing and then come back just feels so much better, because it has that like ripple effect around you when you join the game and the whole world loads like you're in Anonymous. And it was so sick the first time that I saw that. Genuinely, I was mind blown. I was blown away. But I am an Assassin's Creed fanboy, so I'm going to love it. I mentioned the combat earlier as well, and I actually really like the combat now that I've got used to it. So there is a bit of a caveat to that, because at the start I found it really difficult. I don't know why. Maybe it was just me, you know, the way that I was playing it, and it was the middle of a heat wave. Could be that. But also, now that I've got used to it, I'm actually really enjoying the combat. I can see it getting repetitive though. I've played about 6 hours and I played those 6 hours straight. I can see the combat getting really repetitive as you go through the game, because you can do this thing where you parry, you do the takedown, and then you can do 2 more takedowns after. And I really like that, because it feels a lot like the original Black Flag, where you could do the counter and then do the sick animations, you know, between 3 different enemies and that sort of thing. So I like it in that aspect, but I just know that as I go through the game, it's going to get repetitive. But the combat system is so much better than what I've seen of the RPG Assassin's Creeds. If you watched that Assassin's Creed video that I did, you know that I've not actually played those because I don't like the look of them. I feel like what they've done is they've blended a really good system with what worked with the new engine on the new RPG ones, if that makes sense. So it feels really nice, but you know, you don't have to have leveled up gear to fight against a particular person, because each of the different enemies have different move sets and that you've got a time. You can dodge, you can parry, and it just feels great. It feels amazing, I won't lie. And you've got the ability wheel as well, so you can change it up with like a kick to break the defense. You can shoot to break the defense as well. You can sweep their legs, which is a new move that we haven't seen before. And you can use the rope grapple thing that you get given, which I've only used a couple of times, I must admit. But one of my favorite assassinations is actually with that rope, because you can hang people from a tree. I know that sounds a bit morbid, but it just looks really cool, and it's a nice added feature in my opinion. And the fact that you can actually assassinate without needing to be a certain level to assassinate someone is always obviously a bonus. So that's in there as well. Speaking of combat, we can actually crouch now. There's a crouch button and you can do proper stealth, you know, behind corners. You can go in bushes. You can obviously climb up trees and do stealth above people. And the stealth mechanics in this game are actually my favorite way to fight. I've done way more stealth than I have done in pretty much any other Assassin's Creed game. So I used to hate all like the follow missions that we had and stuff that used to constitute as stealth, and love the combat. But this time round, it's a little bit different with Black Flag Resynced. I'm actually really addicted to doing everything stealthily, which I think is good because it actually brings you back to what an assassin should be. Yeah, okay, obviously they're skilled fighters, but they're meant to be in the shadows, you know? So it just made me feel great. And I've done pretty much every single mission trying to do stealth. But one thing I do love is that if you fail the stealth, you can just get into a fight. The mission just continues. And finally, I think the biggest new addition is obviously the new parkour system and the way that you sprint with L3 and then press X to do the parkour. And I actually really like it. I like the animations. I like how fluid it feels. Sometimes you do a wall eject for no reason. Like I've wall ejected into the water and done a dive for absolutely no reason at some point. And I just think that, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me because I'm trying to climb up. My controller's, I'm pointing up and it's just not going the way that I want it to. But other than that blip, I love the parkour, and it's one of my favorite things about this game is the way that you can just run. It's so cool. It just looks really good. I can't explain it, and it feels good as well when you're actually playing it. And just going and doing the traversal, I feel like you just need to kind of experience it. And then just generally, I think everything that I loved about the original Black Flag is here again. So you've got the same naval combat. Absolutely love that. I love the fact that you can brace now and hold the button and then come out of the brace whenever you need to, especially if you're fighting two ships at the same time. That does help. Like the original Black Flag, it was just a fixed animation. You weren't able to kind of control it very much, but this time you can, which I think is a great addition to the naval combat, as well as, you know, different captains where you get new moves and that sort of thing. I just absolutely adore it. But this video isn't just going to be a huge glaze on Black Flag Resynced, because there are some things that I think I just really don't like about the game. And you can tell that Ubisoft have made it, even though they've made a great game, which gives me hope for the future. But also at the same time, you can tell Ubisoft has made it. And I think this is more of a Ubisoft issue rather than, you know, the actual game itself. But we'll get into that. So the first thing is actually to do with the game, and it's the double assassination animation. Why does Edward do a little hop every single time he does a double assassination? It doesn't make any sense. He'll be crouched behind two people and still do a little hop and do a double assassination. Just doesn't make sense to me. I hope that gets patched. But it is just a random animation, but it's like a little niggly thing. I've seen some AI problems as well. So on screen, you'll see that I'm playing one of the missions and it's quite early on, so there's no spoilers, but you can see that I assassinate someone and then one of the NPCs actually runs in front of one of the guards' line of sight, and it actually made me be spotted for some reason. I didn't get fully spotted, so it was fine, but it just made the guard alert, and I just thought, well, that could have ruined my stealth run. It's no biggie, but you can just tell that there's some bugs with the AI sometimes. Speaking of bugs, in this cutscene, Edward doesn't have a steering wheel. So, you know, this is what I mean by you can tell it's made by Ubisoft, because you can tell that they've rebuilt the game from the ground up and took proper care, and it is incredible. But it's also Black Flag, so it was already a good game. They just needed to make it better. And this brings me on to my two main criticisms, and this is definitely just aimed at Ubisoft now and not the actual game itself. So first of all, I've not actually finished the story yet. I'm about 8 hours in. I played 8 hours straight, which is the first time, by the way, I've done that with a video game for a very, very long time. I think the only one that's come close recently is 007 First Light, because that was absolutely incredible. So I don't want these things to take away from the fact that I am actually really enjoying Black Flag Resynced. What I have heard though, towards the end of the game, and some of the things that have been added in that weren't in the original Black Flag and weren't in the original writing, is what we call Ubislop. Now, Ubislop is basically where they get really lazy when they are doing up-to-date things like making new games, and their writing just gets really lazy. So what I've heard is that everything that was written originally with Black Flag and originally in the story is fantastic, because that's when they cared about their writing. But now it seems like AI's written it and they've just put some voice actors over it, tried to do some animations in some of the cutscenes, and it's not quite worked. Now, I don't specifically know where these missions are, but you can also tell where they are in the bits that they've replaced the modern day parts with, because they just feel very rushed. I don't know why, it just feels that way. But there is also evidence of it in those specific missions that have been added in the resynced version. And again, don't quote me on this one because I've not actually played those missions myself. I couldn't tell you where they are in the game, but I've just heard that on different reviews and stuff. And then there's the biggest problem that I've got with this game, and this is 100% Ubisoft all over. But why do we have a season pass that's connected to Assassin's Creed Shadows in Resynced when, I'm not going to lie, I don't care about Shadows now that Resynced is out? To be honest, I never cared about Shadows. Maybe that's just me. But why have we got a season pass in Resynced that unlocks rewards for Assassin's Creed Shadows while I'm playing Resynced anyway, which is the latest release that I'm not going to go back to an old release for? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to have a season pass in there for the game anyway. Like, I get you can unlock cosmetics and stuff like that for Black Flag, and they don't actually affect the gameplay, which is a good thing majority of the time. Some of the things that you can unlock do have perks, but they are just locked to Resynced, so I'm not really too bothered. But the fact that we've got a season pass in a single player game is just Ubisoft all over. I don't think you can actually buy the currency that you need to do the season pass anyway. I think you need to play the game, but why not just put extra unlockables for Black Flag Resynced into the game instead? Nobody cares about unlocking things in Shadows now that Resynced is out. And then you've got the store. Oh my god. Why would you make something pay to win on a single player game? It actually makes no sense. The whole reason of playing this game is to unlock all the collectibles, to play the story, to find everything that you can in the side missions. I'm going to be honest, I've spent more time on the side missions than I have the main quest so far, because I like going around and exploring stuff and being a pirate, and that's what the game is about. Instead, in the store, you've got all your cosmetics. Now, I don't care about the cosmetics because that is a choice on whether you buy that or not. If you want it to look cool while you're going around in a single player game that nobody else is ever going to see, be my guest. Really do not care about that. It's your game, you play it how you want. But the thing that is so Ubisoft coded is the two bundles that are nearly £5 each. One of them that unlocks all of the different side quests and tells you where the locations are of all like the treasure maps of the Mayan puzzle thingies and all of that stuff. It actually tells you the locations of all of that instead of you trying to find it yourself, which makes no sense. Also, what doesn't make sense is the fact that you can actually just Google it, because it is Black Flag and it's Black Flag Resynced. So they're all probably going to be pretty much in the same place anyway. So you can just Google it and save yourself £5. Doesn't make sense to me. You're literally paying for a £5 to have an overlay of a map that you could literally just Google. And then you've got the other £5 bundle, which gives you 10,000 coins in the game, all the materials that you need to do loads of upgrades to your ship and upgrades to your equipment, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then what's the point in that? I mean, I get that it's a shortcut and it's like technically pay to win, but it's also a single player game. And as you play through the game, as long as you play it, then you'll get all of these things eventually anyway. And I get that people want a shortcut and stuff like that, but you have to progress through the story to get a lot of these upgrades anyway to your ship and to your equipment. So it literally makes no sense. But I'm just more annoyed at Ubisoft for putting it in, because what's the point? It doesn't make sense. You want people to play your game. Why would you put something in that's paid to win It's not even multiplayer. Multiplayer games have pay to win. Look at FC. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it just shows what Ubisoft is like as a company now. And it is just very frustrating because they used to be the best. Well, one of the best. Now, enough of that rant about pay to win, because I actually all around think that Black Flag Resynced is a fantastic game, and I'm loving it. I'm personally having the best time with the game, but I am also a big Assassin's Creed fan, so I was bound to like it because it's kind of a return to those old games before we went to the RPG ones that apparently I've heard aren't very good. But I just kind of want to sum up this video to go through whether you should actually buy Black Flag Resynced or not, depending on the type of person you are and the type of game that you're looking for. So the people that should definitely buy it are the people like me, you know, massive Assassin's Creed fans, fans of the original Assassin's Creed games before it went to the RPG games. And if you're just a Black Flag fan in general, you're going to love Resynced. And if you absolutely want to play it and you want to buy it, then absolutely go ahead and buy it. Also, if you've never played Black Flag before, definitely buy it, okay? Buy this version. Why not? I mean, it's the up-to-date version. I think they've put the price up of the original version on most places up to full price anyway, so you're more enticed to buy this game. So you might as well buy the Resynced version. And do you know what? You'll have a blast playing it because it's a fantastic game. Now, the next category of people are the people that should buy it if they really have to. So the reason that I'm saying that is because if you already own the original Black Flag and you don't want to pay full price for this game, genuinely you can just play the original Black Flag and you're not missing out on any story or anything like that. And if you can wait for it to go on sale for the additional, you know, the graphics upgrade and all of the, you know, different upgrades that come with the Resynced version, then go for it. You know, you're not in any rush. It's the same story. You're not missing out on anything. You might miss out on, you know, a few of the gameplay experiences for a bit, but it's a single player game. You can play it eventually. So if you can wait until it goes on sale, then I would wait. I don't actually currently own the original Black Flag, for example, so it made sense for me to buy Resynced. I did play the original back in the day, but, you know, I just didn't own it. I had it on disc and then I sold it. If you already own it, you're probably not going to rush to get it. You might want to wait to get it on sale. Same for those that are a bit on the fence about Black Flag and whether you're going to enjoy it anyway. I would probably wait until it goes on sale if you're not sure if you're going to like it. Now, the people that should definitely not buy it, and obviously that's going to be the people that just don't want to play the game, but I think the people that shouldn't buy the game are the ones that are going to have issue with the store stuff, with Ubisoft. I know there's a lot of people that don't like microtransactions, especially in single player games. So if you're one of those people, you probably won't like the fact that they're doing that, you know, just from an ethical point of view and from, you know, company practice and corporate greed. But also I think the people that have got a PS4 and an Xbox One and still haven't got, you know, the PS5 and Series X, I wouldn't go out and buy a brand new console just for this game, especially with the prices that the consoles are nowadays, you know, with the shortage of memory and stuff. I think that actually it's not like a, you know, I must get a PS5 to play Black Flag Resynced. It's definitely not. Just buy Black Flag on PS4. You'll probably have a great time. It still looks great even till today. Not as good as Resynced, but it's not a, you know, I have to buy my console for that. And then I think the people that have got the original Black Flag and are just happy with that version of the game. And if you're happy with that version of the game and you're not bothered about the new features and the new graphics and stuff like that, then you probably don't even need to buy Resynced, if I'm honest, because it's the same game, just repackaged, and it looks a lot fancier and a lot nicer. I'm just very fortunate that I didn't own the original, so I just thought, you know what, I might buy it. And it is fantastic, but if you're not bothered about it, then don't bother, I would say. To round it off, though, I think you're obviously going to make your own choice on whether you buy Black Flag Resynced or not. I think it's an incredible game, and it's one of the best Assassin's Creed games ever, and a fantastic standalone game if you're not into the Assassin's Creed franchise. Now, I'm going to go jump back into Black Flag Resynced now that I've made this video. I'm addicted to playing it at the moment. I've played it for 8 hours solid already today as of recording this video, and I'm going to go and play a load more. So I shall see you in the next video.